It began with a mistake, or what Amara thought was a mistake. The house had been empty for years, an old colonial tucked behind thorny hedges at the edge of gray stone, a place whispered about by bored school kids and avoided by delivery men. To Amara, it had been the perfect escape, isolated, untouched, and strangely affordable. She was a painter. She craved solitude. She wanted time away from the world to create something real, something unshakable. On her first day in the house, rain fell in fat, rhythmic drops. She unpacked only what she needed: her brushes, oils, a few clothes, and a wide, dust-covered mirror she'd found already mounted in the hallway. Upstairs, that mirror would be the first thing she regretted. It wasn't like any other, at least not anymore. At first it looked normal, tall, with an old mahogany frame and streaks across the glass. But when she passed by that night with a glass of water in her hand, she paused. Something flickered. She leaned closer. Her reflection was there, as expected. But it wasn't. Right. Amara blinked. So did the reflection. She tilted her head. So did the reflection. But there was something, so subtle, it was nearly unnoticeable. The reflection's smile was just a second late. Its eyes seemed a fraction too wide. Its breath. There was no fog on the mirror's surface. Old glass, Amara muttered to herself. Distortion. She didn't sleep well that night. The wind howled through gaps in the old window panes, and the wooden floors creaked like footsteps pacing back and forth above her. She assumed it was the house settling. But it didn't feel like settling. It felt like waiting. By morning, she had almost forgotten the mirror. She threw herself into her work, painting until her knuckles cramped, and the soft light from outside dimmed into a stormy gray. She barely noticed the hours pass. It wasn't until she went upstairs to shower that she saw the mirror again. Remembered, this time, it was definitely wrong. Her reflection stood too still, like a photograph. Her body moved, but her mirrored self lagged behind by seconds. At first she thought she was imagining it, but then she ran her fingers through her hair, and the reflection's hand didn't move at all. Then it smiled. Amara didn't. She stumbled back. Her pulse rose in her throat like bile. She turned, leaving the hallway, slamming the bathroom door shut behind her. A nervous laugh escaped her lips. "Get a grip, Amara," she whispered. "You're tired. You haven't eaten all day. It's just glass. A trick of the light." Still, she didn't go near that mirror again. She started covering it with a sheet. But each morning, the sheet would be on the floor. At first, she thought it was slipping off on its own. But by the fourth night, she tucked it tight, using duct tape to seal the edges. The next morning, it was torn ripped down the middle, like claws had slashed through it. 3 days into her stay, she invited a friend over. Margot, her college roommate, brilliant, skeptical, and always a grounding presence. "You think the mirror's haunted?" Margot laughed. "Ma, you don't even believe in ghosts." "Didn't," Amara said, staring at the glass. "But something is wrong with it." Margot humored her. They watched the mirror for 10 straight minutes. No delay. No creepy smiles. "I swear it does it when I'm alone," Amara said. "Maybe it knows." "Oh, perfect," Margot said, sipping wine. "A smart mirror, sure." "You didn't bump your head?" They laughed. For a moment, the tension broke. But that night, long after Margot had left, Amara woke to a sound. A faint tap, like fingers. On glass, she followed the sound upstairs. She didn't want to. Every cell in her body screamed to stay put, to turn back. But something pulled her. The hallway was dark. The mirror, uncovered again, loomed at the end, and her reflection wasn't there. She blinked, rubbed her eyes. She was standing directly in front of the glass, but it was empty. The hall behind her where she stood was visible in the mirror. The same peeling wallpaper, same dim light bulb above, but no Amara. Her chest tightened. She stepped back. The reflection blinked into view, not gradually, not slowly. Just snap, there she was again. But not exactly her. The eyes, the smile, this time. The reflection waved. Amara did not. The next day she called the property agent. "There's something wrong with the mirror," she said. Which mirror? The one upstairs. The huge one. Pause. There shouldn't be a mirror upstairs. The agent said. Amara's blood ran cold. It was there when I moved in, built into the wall. I've been in that house. There's no mirror. The previous owner had it removed after. The woman paused. Never mind. I'll send someone over. After what? But the call ended. The handyman arrived 2 days later. An older man with deep-set eyes and trembling hands. You sure you want this mirror gone? He asked. Yes, Amara said firmly. I'll pay extra. Just take it out. Tried. The mirror wouldn't move. He chiseled at the edges. Pried. With crowbars, even tried to shatter it. Nothing worked. No one ever removes mirrors like this, he muttered. Not when they're anchored like this one. What do you mean, anchored? He didn't answer. Just packed up his tools and told her one final thing before leaving. If you start seeing things that ain't there, don't follow. Them? Follow them? To the other side, he said. That's how they get you. Then he left, leaving Amara alone again with the mirror. That night, she woke up screaming. Something had whispered her name from inside the mirror. She turned on every light in the house, sat in the kitchen until sunrise. And when the morning finally came, she marched upstairs, heart pounding. But this time, the mirror showed nothing. Just a blank hallway, no reflection at all. Only one sentence appeared, written in breath fog across the glass. Come in. Amara didn't scream this time. She wanted to, but her voice had locked itself somewhere deep in her chest, frozen like her feet on the floor. She stared at the faux-written message on the mirror. Come in. She wiped it away in one shaky motion. But the words didn't smear. They vanished completely, like they had never been there just enough to make her question her sanity. She pressed her hand to the mirror, cold, ordinary. But as she leaned closer, she realized the hallway reflected. And the glass wasn't quite the same. The wallpaper was the same pattern, yes, but more decayed, peeling, blackened. The light bulb in the ceiling above her flickered dimly in real life. But inside the mirror, it was completely dark. And in the darkness, something moved. Not her reflection. Something else. Something crouched low in the shadows. Amara stumbled back, slamming her bedroom door shut behind her. She locked it, even though the mirror wasn't even inside her room. Logic no longer mattered. This was no longer about old glass or distortion. The mirror was showing her. Somewhere else, by morning, she had a plan. Leave. She threw her clothes into a bag, stuffed her paints back into their box, and reached for her phone. There was no service. The signal bars blinked like a joke. She hadn't had cell trouble before. Now even the landline refused to connect. The house wanted her to stay. She found the keys, tried the front door, stuck windows. Even the old back door, which had opened just fine a few days ago, wouldn't budge. It was like the house had changed its mind about her, like she had crossed some invisible line. Amara backed away from the door and heard it then. Soft knock, but not from the front. From upstairs, from the hallway mirror. She didn't want to look. She shouldn't have looked, but something called her. Not out loud. Not in words. But in a whisper, buried beneath her thoughts, like a rope tugging gently at her soul. Up the creaking stairs, past the paint-chipped banister, to the mirror. It looked different. Larger. The glass stretched slightly beyond its frame, like it was breathing. And now the reflection showed nothing but a hallway of black. No light, no echo of the house behind her, yet something was in there. She could feel it. A presence pacing just beyond the surface. Her hand rose against her will. Touched. The glass in the mirror rippled. Not a metaphor. It rippled. Like water disturbed by a single stone. She yanked her hand back. Too late. The reflection came alive. Her mirrored self stepped forward and stopped perfectly in sync with her. But now Amara noticed the details she'd missed before. Her reflection's eyes weren't her color. They were darker, shadowy, hollow. Its smile was too wide. And then it stepped forward again. But Amara hadn't moved. She screamed, ran back down the stairs, heart drumming against her ribs. She heard footsteps behind her, not echoing. The sound of bare feet on wood. She ducked into the kitchen and slammed the door, pressed her back to it, breathing in shallow gasps. The sound of footsteps stopped at the other side. Then a knock once, twice, then silence. Amara backed away slowly. She grabbed a knife from the counter. Her hands were shaking, her knees ready to give out. She tried to tell herself it wasn't real, that she was imagining things, until the kitchen light flickered and her shadow didn't follow. She turned sharply. Her silhouette stretched across the kitchen tile, but it wasn't hers. It moved without her, and then it vanished altogether. She stayed in the kitchen the entire day, refusing to move. She didn't eat, didn't drink. The house creaked and sighed around her like it was settling into something. By nightfall, the power went out. Darkness consumed everything. The flashlight on her phone barely lasted an hour before dying. Candles were nowhere to be found. She sat in darkness, arms wrapped around her knees, till a faint glow lit up the hallway again. From the mirror, blue, pulsing, alive sleep didn't come. The sound of breathing outside her door kept her company. Not hers, not human. Too steady. Too deep at some point near dawn, breathing stopped, and the kitchen door creaked open. Its own. It was pitch black in the hall, but she heard a voice from upstairs, her own voice calling. Amara, come see. No emotion, just calm flat. She froze. No, she whispered to herself. But the voice came again. Closer now, come in. I'm waiting. The sun eventually rose, or tried to. The light outside was pale and gray, barely seeping through the clouded windows. Amara gathered her bag and crept to the front door one more time. Still locked, still trapped. She kicked it, cursed it, even tried the windows again. No use. She went back upstairs. She didn't want tube, but something in her was tired of waiting. Tired of hiding. The mirror greeted her. Now it showed her room, not a hallway. Her bedroom, but not her real one. Not exactly. There were differences. The walls were peeling. Her bed was cracked in half. The ceiling fan was spinning slowly, though hers was broken. Then a figure appeared in the mirrored bed. Her sleeping. But it wasn't sleep. It was stillness. Like a corpse. Amara reached for the frame. The glass rippled again in this time. Her fingers went through. She yanked them back, heart pounding. Her hand was wet, not like water, more like fog. Cold and thick. The message returned, drawn from inside. Step through, she ran. Again, but it didn't help, because now every mirror in the house showed different things. The bathroom mirror showed her closet with something crawling out of. The one in the hall by the stairs, showed her dining room butt on fire, and the small makeup mirror in her bag showed her staring blankly from behind. She sat at the top of the stairs that evening, watching the mirror. The glow came back. Blue and soft, her reflection returned to, no longer smiling. It just stared. Then it lifted a hand. It pointed at her, then at the mirror. Then it mouthed two words. Last chance. Amara screamed and threw the candlesticks. She was. Holding the glass didn't break. Instead, the reflection caught it and grinned. Amara didn't remember falling asleep. But when she opened her eyes, the house was no longer dark. Every single light was on. Every bulb in every room hummed a low, droning tones, though the electricity itself was alive. The glow was sickly, yellow, casting long, trembling shadows across the floor. Her mouth was dry. Her limbs ached. But worst of all, she didn't remember walking into her bedroom, and yet she was there, lying on the bed, fully clothed. The mirror at the end of the room, the same one from the hallway, was somehow mounted on her wall, now directly opposite her. She stared into it groggily. The reflection was normal. She blinked. It blinked. She sat up. It followed, but her stomach turned. Something wasn't right, because when she looked down at herself, her shirt had paint on it, black oil from her studio, but in the mirror, her reflection wore clean clothes, white crisp, and it was smiling, She wasn't she. Scrambled out of the room. Every mirror she passed reflected something different. The bathroom mirror showed her shower curtain torn open, and behind it herself, but motionless, mouth hanging open like a puppet on a hook. The hallway mirror showed her back, even though she was facing it, and the small shaving mirror in the guest room. It showed nothing, not even the room, just a black void. Amara's mind slipped into a kind of spiraling panic. It's not the loud, screaming kind, but the quiet one that numbs the edges of thought. She locked herself in the basement. No mirrors there, no windows, just pipes, concrete, and the dusty smell of time. She found a journal down there, leather-bound old, inside. The pages were brittle, but the writing was still legible. She opened to the first page. May 3rd, 1956. The mirror blinked first. That's how I knew it was alive. Her breath caught. She flipped to the next page. It doesn't reflect us. It copies us. And once it knows enough, it stops pretending. The pages after were filled with frantic scrawls, diagrams of human eyes, sketches, of mirrors, with people crawling out of them, half-formed, warped. One line had been repeated over and over again in red ink. Do not step through. And beneath that, they trade places. Amara slammed the journal shut. It made sense. Terrifying, sickening sense. The reflection wasn't hers. It was a thing. Studying her, mimicking her. And if she crossed over, it would take her place. She grabbed a hammer from the tool rack. She ran back up the stairs 2 at a time, fury overtaking fear. She stood in front of the hallway mirror and screamed, "You want me? Come get me." And with a swing that shook her bones, she brought the hammer down onto the glass. It hit, it rebounded. The mirror didn't even crack, but the glass on the floor. Behind her she turned, then gasped. The small mirror she hadn't noticed on the hallway console, the one from the old wardrobe, was shattered. Spiderweb fractures radiated across its surface, but she hadn't hit it. The hallway mirror began to ripple, slowly, like it was breathing. Then came the voice, not hers, not human, a whisper layered on top of itself. Dozens of mouths speaking in unison. From the other side of the glass, almost ready. Mara's legs trembled. She stepped back until something grabbed her ankle. She screamed and kicked, but there was nothing there. It's only a freezing sensation, like ice water crawling over her skin. The hallway lights flickered, and then the mirror changed. It no longer showed her house. It showed the other side. It was her house, but drowned in rot. The wallpaper was curled like dying leaves, mold spread like veins along the floorboards. Her paintings were warped, screaming silently from their frames, and in the center of the room stood her reflection, waiting. She turned away. "I'm not going in," she whispered. "You can't make me." But the mirror began to pull. The air itself thickened. Like invisible hands were tugging her forward. Her fingers scraped the floor as she fought back. But her feet were lifting. Her toes left the ground. Then at the front door, the pull stopped. Everything froze. 3 more knocks. Louder. Amara scrambled away from the mirror. Choking on her own breath, she ran to the door and flung it open. It was Margot, her friend from the city, her face pale, eyes wide. "Amara, are you okay?" Amara burst into tears and threw herself into Margot's arms. "I can't explain," she sobbed. "It's the mirror. It wants me. It copied me." Margot held her tight. Okay, we're going to get help. We're going to burn it, smash it, something. Just breathe." They sat on the floor, shaking. "I found a journal," Amara whispered, "from someone who lived here before. It said they trade places. The mirror thing and the real person. If you step through, you vanish. Forever." Margot's eyes widened. "Then we don't let it happen." Amara nodded. "Promise me you'll never let me go in. Not even if I beg you." They hugged again. The lights flickered. Margot stood slowly. "I'll grab us some water," she said. "You stay here." Amara nodded. She sat in silence for several minutes. Something felt off, she didn't know what. Then she heard it from upstairs, footsteps, but Margot was in the kitchen. Amara's blood went cold. Slowly, she turned her head and saw it. In the reflection of the hall window, her friend. Margot staring at her from the top of the stairs, smiling, and behind her, another Margot. The first thing Amara did was not scream, she just froze, her throat locked. Her eyes flicked between the window's reflection and the reality behind her. One Margot chatting in the kitchen, running the tap, another smiling, unmoving at the top of the stairs. The one upstairs tilted her head, so did the one in the kitchen. Exactly, it's the same angle. A mirrored motion. No delay. Not anymore. Amara stood slowly. The knife on the coffee table was just inches from her hand. She gripped it behind her back. "Margot," she called out. "Yes," came the reply from the kitchen. But it was both of them. Both voices. It's perfectly in sync. It's perfect. "What did we say when you first arrived?" Mara asked carefully. The kitchen Margot walked into view, holding a glass of water. "You said you can't make me go in," she answered, smiling. The same smile from the stairs, wide, fixed, empty. Amara didn't wait. She ran backwards into the hall, away from both versions. She slammed the basement door shut and bolted it. Then she turned on the single bulb overhead. It flickered, but stayed lit. She paced, breath shallow. They were both wrong, but the real Margot had freckles on her neck. These didn't, and she blinked. Too often when she was nervous, neither of these did. They weren't copies. They were invasions, imposters, stepping through. And now they had voices. The mirror in the hallway pulsed behind the door, like it was breathing again. Then came the sound. Knuckles on wood, not loud, but constant. Tap, tap. Sap from the basement wall. No mirrors down there. Only cracked paint and old cement. Until now, Amara turned slowly toward the corner, and there it was, a mirror she hadn't noticed before. Old, round, covered in soot, and something was behind it, a figure pressed close to the glass. Watching, she backed away, breath hitching. This mirror was different. It wasn't connected to any part of the house. It looked like it had been built into the wall. The frame was fused with brick. She remembered the journal's words. Do not step through. They trade places. But what if? What if someone else already had? What if the Margot upstairs wasn't the only one? What if Amara herself had already been replaced? Her hands trembled. Her breath, G. She looked in the basement mirror, and for a second, just a second, her reflection didn't copy her. It stared at her like a stranger. Then it smiled. Too much way. Too much. A sudden bang upstairs made her flinch. Footsteps. Not one pair. Two. Coming closer. She had seconds. She scanned the shelves. Found a hammer. A bag of salt. A roll of copper wire. Old superstition. Margot had once joked that salt and metal stopped spirits. She wasn't laughing now. Amara poured a ring of salt around the mirror and herself, heart pounding. Then she wound copper wire around her wrist and whispered every prayer she could. Remember from her childhood, the footsteps stopped outside the door. Then came a new sound, the voice, her voice, from the other side of the door. Amara whispered, I need help, please. They're copying me. She held her breath. The voice came again, more desperate, more human. I'm still me. You have to believe me. Don't let them take me. Please, please open the door. Amara stepped closer. She wanted to believe it. Needed to, but that's when she heard it again. Another voice, from the mirror. Softer, quieter. Don't open the door. It said that's her. Mara turned. The reflection wasn't hers anymore. It was Margot. The real Margot. She looked terrified. Her palms pressed against the glass. I didn't go in, she whispered. She pulled me in. I'm trapped. You're next. Then the door burst open, and the two Margaux stepped in together. One held a mirror, small, handheld. She pointed it at Amara. The glass shimmered in The reflection in it grinned, like it had been waiting all along. They stepped toward her. "Join us," they whispered. Amara kicked the salt ring. The energy snapped, the mirror on the wall. It cracked us to hairline, but it was enough. The real Margot in the reflection screamed. "Break it!" She yelled, "That one. Break that mirror. I can get out." Amara lunged for the hammer. The fake Margos shrieked in unison, their voices twisted into something inhuman. Amara swung once, twice. The mirror shattered, and Margot fell out. She collapsed onto the basement floor, gasping for air. Her skin was ice cold, her eyes wide with trauma. The two other Margos hissed and then flickered, like images in an old television. Then they vanished. No sound, no smoke, just gone. Margot lay there trembling. "You were right," she whispered. "It tried to show me everything I wanted. Then it started copying me. I didn't step in. It pulled me." Amara helped her up. "No more mirrors," she said. "Ever," Margot agreed. They packed their things in silence. They covered every mirror, even ones they'd forgotten, like the black screen of the microwave, the laptop, the glass and picture frames. By dusk, they were ready to leave, but the front door still wouldn't open, no matter how hard they tried. They kicked, screamed, tried windows. Nothing. Amara collapsed on the floor, exhausted. "This place wants us," she whispered. "No," Margot said, looking around. "Not the place." Amara followed her gaze. All the mirror coverings were gone. Every sheet pulled down, every reflective surface now bare. And in each of them, the reflections were gone. Every mirror in the house was exposed. Not just mirrors in a reflective surface. The windows, the television screen, the backs of polished spoons. Each one sat open, vulnerable, like a portal. And in none of them was there a reflection. Not of Amara, not of Margot. Just empty rooms, flickering light and eyes. They were there now, hidden just beyond the shimmer. Watching, waiting, dozens of them. Some human, some not. "Don't move," Amara whispered. "They're looking for us." Margot nodded. Her hands trembled as she slowly stepped backward into the hall. But the reflections, those soulless. Observer eyes followed them from every angle, and then one of them blinked, not in sync. It's not mirrored, just a slow, deliberate blink. They retreated to the attic, the one place left with no mirrors, no glass, no screens. They used a broken chair to wedge the trapdoor shut, then sat in the shadows, heartbeats loud in the silence. "I saw them in there," Margot said softly. "When I was trapped, it's like a hive. All connected. Each mirror is just a crack in their world." "What are they?" Amara asked. "I don't know," Margot said. "But I don't think they're ghosts. I don't even think they're alive. They want bodies." Margot nodded. "They want ours." Amara stood, pacing the attic. "We can't just stay here forever." The journal said something about anchors. "Maybe they can only come through if the mirror is anchored." Margot squinted. "What does that mean? Built into the house? Fixed? Permanent?" That's why the hallway mirror was so strong. It wasn't hung. It was part of the wall. "Destroy the anchors," Margot said, "and maybe the rest collapse." "But how?" They looked at each other, then at the attic floor. Tools, nails, boards, rope. They started with the old hallway mirror. Margot carried the crowbar. Amara brought the sledgehammer they found in the attic's crawlspace. The house groaned as they stepped down, like it knew what they were planning. And when they reached the hallway, the mirror was waiting. Its glass pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. And this time, the reflections had returned. But they weren't Amara and Margot. They were versions of them, twisted. Amara's double had no mouth. Margot's had eyes filled with worms. They stared out from the glass like it was a window, a thin veil, a fragile one. Amara didn't hesitate. She swung the hammer. It struck the wall just beside the glass hard. The frame jolted, cracking the plaster. The glass trembled, but didn't break. Margot used the crowbar to wedge behind the frame and pry. Screeching sounds echoed through the hall, like metal shrieking, then dash crack. The mirror slipped loose. The eyes in the glass screamed. It wasn't sound. It was inside their minds like radio static, like the roar of a crowd buried deep in their skulls. Margot dropped to her knees. Amara screamed and brought a sledgehammer down one last time. The mirror shattered, and from it something burst out. It wasn't a creature. Not exactly. More like smoke. Tendrils of darkness poured out of the broken glass, twisting into shapes that almost looked human: arms, faces, mouths opening too wide. Then it all collapsed into the floor, hissing like steam. Silence followed. Margot coughed, blood on her lip. Was that one of them? Amara nodded. It tried to come through before the portal collapsed. One down, Margot whispered. How many more? They looked around. Every mirror in the house began to tremble. One by one, they made a list. Any built-in mirror, medicine cabinets, decorative panels, closet doors. One by one, they tore them down. Some broke easily, others resisted. But every time one shattered, they saw something try to escape. Twisted figures, ghost-like clouds, images of their own bodies, warped and grotesque. Some even spoke. Don't leave us here. Let me wear your skin. Trade. Just once. They didn't stop, even as their ears bled. Even as their reflections became clearer, more Reland began copying their movements again. It wasn't until the last mirror that something changed. The full-length one, in the back room, painted into the wall, part of an old built-in vanity. This one didn't show anything at all, just black dot empty. Until Amara touched it, then. It became a window to somewhere else, not a reflection, a world. It looked like the house, but the sky outside was purple. The trees moved like jellyfish. The hallway stretched forever, and standing inside that place were hundreds of Amaras and Margot Os. Trapped. Double quotes? Is that the source? Margot whispered. Amara nodded. They come from there. Suddenly her reflection stepped forward, the real one, perfectly. She smiled, not twisted this time, but calm, kind, almost tired. Then she lifted a finger to the glass and wrote a single word in the fog, help, and vanished. Amara fell to her knees. That was me, she said. The real me. She's still in there. No, Margot said. You're real? You didn't go in? Amara shook her head. Not all of me came back. I feel it, like a thread, tied around my ribs, pulling me from the inside. She touched the glass again. It welcomed her. The mirror rippled, but this time she wasn't pulled. This time, she could choose. Margot stepped forward, gripping her shoulder. You can't. You saw what's in there. But if I don't, Amara said, they'll keep coming. More copies. More trades. We have to end it there, on their side. Margot said nothing, then handed her the copper wire for the tether. She said, so I can pull you back. Amara wrapped it around her wrist, tied it to the leg of the vanity. 10 minutes, she said. No matter what happens, pull me out in 10. Margot nodded. Then Amara took a breath and stepped through. Crossing through the mirror wasn't like falling or stepping, or even dreaming. It was like unfolding. One moment, Amara felt the copper wire tug against her wrist, her foot brushing the glass the next. Her body stretched and slipped like thread pulled through the eye of a needle. There was no sensation of space, no up or down, no inside or outside. Only motion without direction. Then she landed. The world on the other side was dim, painted in hues of violet and gray. Everything looked almost like her house, same layout, same walls, but warped. The doors were too tall, the windows too wide. The hallway twisted slightly, like a house remembered from a fever dream. And it was quiet, so quiet. Her own heartbeat echoed like footsteps in her ears. She looked down. The copper wire was still attached to her wrist, trailing back through a floating ripple behind her the open mirror. Margot, she whispered. No answer. She turned around. The mirror she came through now stood as a freestanding frame in midair, hovering like a portal made of liquid mercury. Through it, she could barely make out the attic back in her world. She was in. But she was not alone. She stepped forward slowly. The floor groaned, but not from her weight. It groaned like something underneath it was breathing. She passed a cracked painting, one of hers, but melted and distorted. The face in the canvas blinked as she passed. She flinched but didn't stop. A door creaked open on its own to her right. She peered inside. It was her bedroom, or a version of it there on the bed. Lay another Amara, still eyes open, lips parted in a silent scream. But it wasn't a corpse. It breathed, in and out like it was stuck in a looping animation. She stepped closer carefully. The breathing stopped. Figure sat upright, but its head never moved, just the body. Like it didn't need to look at her to see. "Why are you here?" it asked. Its voice was her voice, but hollow, like someone trying to remember how to sound human. Amara raised the copper-wrapped hand. "I came to end this, to stop the trading." The thing smiled. "You are the trade," it whispered. She backed away. It stood. Its feet hovered slightly above the floor. Its limbs bent wrong. It reached toward her hand, then froze. Something unseen yanked it backward, into shadow. A dozen pale hands dragged it behind a curtain that hadn't been there a second ago. Amara didn't wait. She ran. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. Doors passed like snapshots, a kitchen full of teeth. A living room where mirrors turned in circles on their own. A nursery filled with identical dolls, all staring at the ceiling and silently mouthing, "Let us in, let us in." She didn't stop until she reached the end. There, a staircase led downward into the belly of the house. Beneath the mirror-dash world, she followed. Each step creaked like bone. The air grew colder. The walls pulsed like skin. And then, finally, she reached it, the heart. It was a room made entirely of glass. Dozens of mirrors floated like shards in the air, each one spinning slowly. Beside them were people trapped like flies in amber, versions of herself, versions of Margot. Others she didn't recognize. A child, an old man, a police officer, a woman in a nurse's uniform. Some screamed, mouths wide in eternal silence. Some wept. Some just stared. She walked carefully among the mirrors, watching their eyes follow her. Then a voice came from all directions at once. "Do you see now?" The room darkened. Only the glass shimmered. "You are not the first. You will not be the last." She turned in circles, fists clenched. "What do you want?" she shouted. A ripple passed through the air, and from the largest mirror at the center of the room stepped a figure. It was her again, perfect. But this time, to perfect. No blink, no breath. Like the idea of her, polished and empty. It smiled, "We want to be real." The other mirrors pulsed. The figures inside them began to press against the glass, like they were testing it. "Why me?" Mara asked. The perfect copy tilted its head. "You opened the door. You looked too long, you saw past the surface." "Didn't mean to. It doesn't matter. Your attention fed us.
Else.
Your fear gave shape." It stepped closer. The copper wire tugged almost time. Amara watched the mirror behind her begin to shrink. Her way out was closing. "You don't belong here," she said. "Neither do you." Then the glass under her feet cracked. The figures inside, the mirrors began to shatter their prisons. One by one, arms broke through. Voices screamed from every shard. Margot's face appeared in one bloodied, screaming her name. Then she remembered. 10 minutes. Copper tether. Amara reached for the mirror. Portal, the perfect copy, lunged, but she was faster. She threw the hammer into the nearest, floating shard. It shattered with a scream of static and light. Then the wire yanked hard, and Amara was ripped. Backward through the glass, through the veil back, into her world, gasping. Coughing, trembling, as Margot pulled her back into the attic. But not alone, because as the mirror portal closed, something else came through, a single shard of glass. And inside it, a blinking eye. The eye inside the shard blinked once, then closed. Amara screamed and kicked it across the attic floor. A tiny glass triangle skittered under a dresser, disappearing into the shadows. "What was that?" Margot gasped, still gripping the copper. Wire wrapped around Amara's wrist. "It followed me," Amara panted. Her skin was cold, her chest rising and falling too fast. "I didn't close the door fast enough. Something got through. You said you were the one holding the tether." "How it was hiding in the mirror," Amara said, shivering. "It was watching. It wanted to come with me." They looked around the attic. Quiet. Still, but not empty. They blocked the trapdoor. With furniture and hammered every remaining reflective surface, with a blanket or towel, even the smallest glints phone screens, watch faces. Puddles on the floor were suspect now. Amara slumped against the wall. "I saw others," she said quietly. "Dozens, maybe hundreds. Trapped in there. All of them, just waiting. There. Bodies are in there. Some pieces of them might already be here." Margot knelt beside her. "But you made it back." Amara turned toward her. "But am I all back?" Margot didn't answer. And in the silence, a sound echoed from below: "Tink." Like glass hitting wood, they crept down the stairs. Every board underfoot groaned as though warning them in the hallway. Where the large mirror once hung, a black scorch mark still remained on the wall. The air smelled faintly of ozone and rust. Then came the sound. Again, time followed by something else. A faint laugh, high-pitched. Childlike, it came from the living room. Margot went first, holding the hammer tight. Amara followed, knife in hand. What they found stopped them cold. The shard, it had grown. Once no bigger than a coin, it now pulsed like a beating heart floating midair in the center of the room, spinning slowly. Its edges shimmered with dark light. Inside it, an eye, then a mouth, then a hand. "Smash it," Akema whispered. Margot didn't hesitate. She brought the hammer down, but the glass dodged, like it knew. It zipped sideways, embedding itself into the far wall, and it pulsed again. A vein of black glass spread from it, like a root system, threading through the drywall. Vanishing into the floor, Amara clutched her head. "I think I can hear it," she said. "It's thinking. It's trying to find a way to make more of itself." Margot's eyes widened. "It's not just a shard. It's a seed." "Then we dig it out," Amara said, "before it grows." They spent hours tearing open the wall. Everywhere the shard's vein had spread, the plaster was soft, almost organic, like skin stretched over bone inside. More fragments shimmered, tiny ones, almost invisible. They were multiplying. Some had faces already forming in them. One looked like Amara, another like Margot. "Stop looking at them," Amara said. "How they start, that's how they feed." They tore down the insulation, sprayed salt, burned anything that might disrupt the spreading. But the glass was like fungus, it clung to everything by nightfall. They had barely made a dent, and then the power died. Darkness settled in like smoke. Amara lit a candle. Margot checked the fuse box. "All circuits are fine," she said. "Something else shut it off." "Maybe they don't like fire," Amara guessed. Suddenly the candlelight flickered, then went out. Complete black, in the pitch dark, a new voice echoed. Hi, innocent. Wanna play? Amara turned sharply, holding her breath. Found you. Then tap, 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 from inside the walls. And again, closer. Tap, tap, tap. They bolted to the kitchen, grabbed more candles, and the old camping lantern. But when light returned, they saw them reflections in every object, in the kettle, in the toaster, in the shiny wood of the table, each one with a small, childlike version of Amara, black eyes, wide grin. Don't you remember us? They asked in unison. We were your imaginary friends. You used to talk to us in the mirror. Amara froze. I forgot about that. We stopped talking. The reflections pouted, so we waited. Gru learned. Margot smashed the kettle. With the lantern, the reflection inside it screamed. They spent the night in the garage. Concrete. No glass. No reflections. But Amara couldn't sleep. She stared at the floor, where a puddle of oil shimmered, and in it a shadow moved, a version of her, crouched low, watching. Don't blink, Did whispered, or I'll wear your eyes. By morning, they had a plan. They would burn the house, salt the grounds, destroy the structure completely. Whatever lived in the mirrors, whatever had been invited in, would lose its anchor. We can't let this spread, Amara said. It's not just about us anymore. As they prepared, Margot froze. What? Is it? Amara asked. Margot pointed to her reflection in the glass pane of the garage window. Amara looked and saw herself, but this reflection was. Smirking, she blinked. It didn't. Then it whispered. Too late. Amara stumbled back from the garage window. Her reflection, still smirking, tilted its head the wrong way, like its neck wasn't jointed properly. The image was too crisp, too present. It wasn't a reflection anymore. It was watching her smash. Amara breathed. But before Margot could swing the crowbar, the glass rippled like water disturbed by a stone, and from it, a hand reached through, pale, delicate. Wrong. Margot. Swunk-rack. Glass shattered across the garage floor. The hand vanished. But not before its fingernails scraped a message into the fogged surface. We're already here, they ran. Not back into the house. Into the woods. The road was still blocked. The car was dead. There was no signal, no GPS, no way to call for help. The world beyond the trees was cloaked in fog, as if reality had been sliced around the house. They've infected the perimeter, Margot said breathlessly. We're sealed inside. Amara looked back at the house through the trees. It stood too still. No wind, no birdsong. And its windows glowed faintly like eyes opening one by one. She remembered something from the journal. They don't just reflect you, they replace you, piece by piece. What if some of them didn't need mirrors anymore? Amara whispered. What if they copied enough to slip into our world without permission?
Margot
turned to her sharply.
What? You think so?
Already did? I think they're hiding inside the house. And they look like us. They returned cautiously, circling to the back. The glass in the rear door was already broken, but not smashed, pushed inward, as if something had entered. Inside, the house was too quiet. No hum of appliances. No stress, just the smell of dust, smoke. In mimicry, they moved carefully, stepping over mirror shards, black glass veins, melted picture frames. In the hallway, Mara froze. There were footprints, but only one set, bare feet, the same size as hers. Leading to the basement, they followed the trail. Breath held. The basement door was open. The copper wire still hung down the stairs, but now it was. Cut. No, Amara said, trembling. She descended first,
Out.
holding her flashlight like a weapon. At the bottom was the large mirror frame. They'd broken during the first attack, but it wasn't shattered anymore. It was whole and standing in front of it. She turned, smiled. Double quotes. Welcome back, the copy said, voice eerily gentle. You left the door open, so I walked through. Margot. Raise the hammer. Don't, the copy said, lifting her hands. If you smash this mirror, you'll trap her in the other side. The real Amara. What? The copy stepped forward slowly, calmly. Your friend never came back. She got pulled back in the last second. I'm the one who stepped out.
Amara
Turned to Margot, eyes wide. Don't believe it. That's the trick. That's what they do. Margot stood frozen between two Amaras, two voices, two sets of eyes. How do I know which one's real? She whispered. Both, Amara said. At the same time, ask me what I said in the hospital the night your brother died. Margot stepped back. Don't. That's not fair, I said. One of them continued that if grief had a shape, it would be a locked room. and the door would never open on its own. Margot choked. The other Amara said nothing, but she smiled. Too much, Margot turned. Dan swung the hammer into the smiling. One crack. The impostors shattered into a cloud of black glass and mist, screaming as it dissolved into the floor. Then silence. Just one Amara remained, shaking, knees buckling. They didn't wait. They went to the living room, doused every inch in gasoline from the shed, salted the doors and windows. Then they lit the match. The fire roared to life like it had been waiting. For permission, the mirrors inside the house screamed. All of them. The flames bent unnaturally as the reflections tried to crawl out, melting and bubbling like wax figurines. Hands reached through the flames, human, animal, impossible. None made it out. They stood outside, watching the inferno consume. The house, one mirror shattered in the upstairs window, then another, then a final deafening blast as the largest anchor mirror cracked open with a shockwave. The house collapsed in on itself, like a paper model folded the wrong way. And in the silence that followed, a single note drifted on the wind. We'll find new glass. Hours passed. Then daylight, the fog began to lift, birds returned. The world, it seemed, was real again. They walked together down the long gravel road, not speaking, not crying, just moving. Every reflective surface, they passed a car window, lake's edge. Puddle Amara refused to look, but Margot did. And in one of them she swore she saw her reflection wave. They left Greystone by foot, never once looking back. No luggage, no keys, no photos, only the clothes they wore. Lighter. And a knife dulled from too much scraping at mirror frames. By the time they reached the outskirts of the next town, the air felt lighter. The sun didn't have that silver-blue tint anymore. It was real, warm, alive. But Amara couldn't shake the feeling. Every window they passed, she turned away. Every puddle on the sidewalk. She stepped around it. Even the screen of a phone in a shop window gave her pause. Margot noticed. You're not paranoid, she said quietly. You're just remembering. Amara didn't reply. She knew. Glass never forgets. They checked into a roadside motel on the edge of Fairview. One room, no mirrors. They asked the clerk specifically. Still, Amara duct-taped the bathroom mirror and turned over the shiny clock face. Margot unplugged the TV and laid a towel across the black screen. I know it's probably over, Margot said. It's not, Amara replied. Just weakened. They lost their main door. Then what now? We don't invite them again? No mirrors, no reflective surfaces, no lingering stares. She paused, and no forgetting. But forgetting was tempting. Days passed then. Weeks. Fairview was kind, quiet, no strange reflections, no voices behind the glass. For the first time in a long time, they started to breathe normally again. Amara began sketching again. Margot took a job at the local bookstore. Their lives, piece by piece, began to resemble something like living, until the mail came. A plain envelope. No. Return address, inside a photograph, of Amara and Margot, asleep in their motel beds, shot from above. Under the photo, written in looping handwriting, We've missed you. The motel had no security cameras, no cleaning staff. Claimed to have entered, no one in the front office had a key to their room. Yet somehow, someone had stood over them, camera in hand. Not someone, something. They checked out immediately by nightfall. They had rented a small cabin near the woods, off the grid.
Oh.
Margot called it their mirror-free fortress. It worked for a time, until Amara dropped a spoon into the sink and looked down and saw herself smiling. The smile vanished the moment she blinked, but it was enough to prove they had followed. They're still out there, Amara whispered that night. Pieces of them, shards. Margot nodded. They're waiting for us to forget again. That's how they get back in. And then Margot said something that chilled them both. What if they never really left? They called the only person they could think of, Dr. Elliot Vance. An occult historian Margot had once interviewed during college. He picked up on the first ring. Reflections, Mara said. A pause. You've seen the looking ones, he answered softly. That wasn't comforting. Dr. Vance agreed to meet them. The next morning early, they rented a car and drove 3 hours north to his property, converted barn filled with dusty tomes, broken glass charms, and jars full of salt ash and bones. He welcomed them inside without a word, only after all three stood in a circle of red chalk. Candles flickering at the edges did he speak. You're lucky you came back. Most don't. Amara told him everything. That mirror house. The copies. The voice in the glass. Dr. Vance listened without blinking. They are older than stories, he said. Older than dreams. They don't want to be seen. They want to be... Be what? Margot asked. Be you, he said. Be everyone. They are parasitic intelligences. Study us, mimic us, and then replace us. They do not kill. They inhabit. Why? Now, Amara asked. Why me? You opened a door that had remained closed for decades. You fed them. Oh. She shook her head. I didn't mean to. No one ever does, he said. But once mirrored, always marked. Dr. Vance gave them tools, obsidian tokens, to keep near reflective surfaces. They draw the mimic's attention away. Black salt for cleansing. A ritual phrase to close minor entry points, and something else, a small mirror. Old and clouded, bound in leather and chains. This, he said, contains one of the first. Bound since the 1800s. He set it on the table between them. They all stared into it. Nothing. Just fog. Until a hand slapped against the other side of the glass. All three jumped back. And then, face appeared. Amara's her mouth opened, slow and wide, and she whispered, I never left.